The neon lights of the stellar drift bar flickered in a rhythm that matched no known heartbeat, neither human nor alien. Haley Chen stood near the entrance, her worn military jacket hanging loosely over her shoulders, the patches faded but still recognizable to those who knew. Christian Martinez nudged her forward with his elbow. "Come on, Hales. You said you'd do it." "I said I'd consider it," she corrected, eyeing the karaoke stage where a Throxian diplomat was currently butchering a popular Zeldari pop song. The translator implants everyone wore made the performance comprehensible, if not pleasant. The stellar drift wasn't just any bar. It was a veteran's haven, a neutral zone where soldiers from 100 worlds came to forget, to remember, or simply to exist without judgment. The Galactic Concordance had brought peace 5 years ago, but peace didn't erase scars. Christian grinned, his face still bearing the faint silver lines of Kelvorian acid burns from the Battle of Proxima Reach. "You're the only one here who actually knows the old languages. These aliens, they've heard our pop songs, our anthems, but they've never heard that." Haley's hand unconsciously moved to the data chip in her pocket. Her grandmother had given it to her before the war, before Earth had made first contact, before humanity discovered they were far from alone and even farther from safe. The chip contained songs in Latin, a language dead for centuries before humanity reached the stars. Her grandmother, a professor of ancient languages, had made her learn them. "Languages carry souls," she'd said. "When you speak them, sing them, you resurrect the dead." "One song," Haley finally agreed. Christian's smile widened. He'd seen her in combat, had watched her hold a defensive line against Krell shock troops for 6 hours straight. If she could do that, she could handle a karaoke stage. The Throxian finished to polite applause from the diverse crowd. Haley made her way to the stage, her boots echoing on the metal floor. The bartender, a 4-armed Quillian named Ress, looked up in interest. She uploaded the file from her chip to the bar's system. The crowd quieted as she took the microphone. Aliens of every description filled the room. Zeldari with their crystalline skin, Krell warriors still wearing partial armor, Matharian pilots with their compound eyes, and dozens of other species. Among them were scattered humans, all bearing the same look, the veteran's gaze that saw beyond the present moment. "This is in an Earth language called Latin," Haley said, her voice steady. "It died as a spoken tongue over 2,000 years ago. But once, soldiers sang it on their way to battle. They sang it when they buried their dead. They sang it when they needed to remember why they fought." She didn't explain which song she'd chosen. The music began, a haunting melody that predated starships by millennia, and then she sang, "Dies Irai, dies Illa." The translator implants in every ear struggled with the archaic language, finally settling on approximations. Day of wrath, day of mourning. The words rolled through the bar like a wave. Haley's voice wasn't professionally trained, but it carried something else, the weight of history, of countless souls who had sung these words in stone churches and on blood-soaked battlefields, in times of plague and times of hope. Solvet seclum in favilla. The world shall dissolve in ashes. A Krell warrior near the back, a species known for their brutal efficiency in combat, slowly rose to his feet. His 6 legs straightened, and his primary arms came to his chest in the Krell salute, a gesture reserved only for the honored dead. "Teste David cum Sibylla." As prophesied by David and the Sibyl, a Zeldari captain stood next, her crystalline form shimmering as she placed her hand over the location where her people's life core resided. The gesture meant respect, remembrance. One by one they rose. The Matharian pilots formed their wing salute. The Throxian diplomats touched their foreheads in the sign of eternal memory. Even the Velgrim, a species that had fought against humanity during the war, stood with their arms crossed over their chests, acknowledging the sacred. Christian stood among them, his hand pressed to his heart, tears streaming down his face. Haley continued, her voice never wavering, even as she saw the crowd before her. Enemies and allies, all united in this moment. Quantus tremor est futurus. How great will be the trembling. They understood. Not because of the translators, not because of the literal words. They understood because every species in that room knew loss. Every one of them had sung their own songs for their own dead in their own ancient tongues. Every one of them had stood on the edge of annihilation and howled their defiance at the universe. This human song, dead for 2 millennia, carried the same weight as the Krell death chants, the same sorrow as the Zeldari memory crystals, the same fierce determination as the Metherian war hymns. When Haley sang of judgment and mortality, of fear and hope intertwined, she sang for every soldier who had ever lived, human or otherwise. Rex tremendae majestatis, king of tremendous majesty. The bar was silent, except for her voice. The neon light seemed dimmed by the weight of the moment. Even Ress had stopped cleaning glasses, all 4 arms still. As the final notes faded into silence, Haley stood breathing heavily, the microphone trembling slightly in her hand. The bar remained frozen, every being standing at attention. Then Christian began to clap. Slowly, deliberately. The others joined. Not applause for a performance, but the measured cadence of a military honor. The Krell warrior approached the stage and bowed, touching his head to the floor. The Zeldari captain presented her service crystal, a gift given only once in a lifetime. Haley descended from the stage to find herself surrounded by veterans of a dozen worlds, each trying to express in their own way what they had felt. A Velgrim officer approached, his former enemy, and spoke through his translator. "We have songs like that. Songs of the first warriors. We thought only we remembered our dead so fiercely." Haley met his eyes. "Every species remembers. We just sing it differently." That night, the stellar drift became more than a bar. It became a memorial, a church, a gathering place for those who understood that some things transcended species and space and time itself, and somewhere, in the quantum foam of the universe, perhaps ancient Roman soldiers heard their song sung among the stars and smiled.